A decent start for Gen.G, but it was around round 8 that they woke up the sleeping giants in Envy, and it was all Envy from that point on. They closed things out 13-6, going on an impressive 11-round run, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Veli, what was it on Envy's defensive side that was really impressive to you looking at that first map?
It was impressive to me and everybody else out there that was rooting for Envy, right? Envy's defense was bend but don't break. So the thing with Gen.G, they pulled what I called a phase. It was a hard fake. They sent Win plus Sova over to C. You saw the ult get shot out, but Win was able to get a kill. Envy, they stayed put. They didn't rotate at all. You know why? It's like I said before the game started. They are the most well-prepared team in NA, in my opinion. They knew exactly what was happening. It's like they saw it. They kept 3 people dedicated on that A site, and what was happening? Gen.G had those numbers waiting there as well. After that, it was just an easy win. Envy was on point every single way along the way, and kind of like their challengers before they got here, where they were able to guess, you know, A, C, and B bomb site against, I believe it was Sentinels. FNS knows this stuff. He's been doing his homework.
Looking at that B site, too, it seemed to be a pretty big problem for Gen.G. Not necessarily on the attack so much, but more so on the defensive side. Potter, what is it about this B site that makes it interesting compared to the other sites on the map?
Yeah, you know, it's just inherently, look, it's right smack in the middle of the map, right? The defenders, they're going to be able to, with any little tell, any sound cue, any utility, they're going to be able to quickly rotate. So it's a real clunchy position on the map, I think. And so most attackers, generally speaking, will visit the B site, especially on those ecos. And the defenders will defend the B site on anti-ecos. But generally on those gun rounds, we'll see most of the action on the extremities to try to pull those defenders on the outside so that they can have an opening towards that B. But look, Envy, they know exactly what the game plan of Gen.G are going to be. Veli touched on it a bit. They were exactly where they needed to be. And it doesn't help that Sean was losing out most of his duels. It wasn't for the lack of trying, right? 2 for 6 in those opening duels, just not simply good enough. So hopefully moving on to the second map, Sean, he gets a little bit reinvigorated and he's able to have those entries.
Yeah, Bach, and also, I'm so sorry, Van Silly. I just want to make it real quick. So the one thing about Gen.G when it comes to defense, they're well known for whenever they play on Haven, they love to leave B wide open, and that's only because their main strategy is just for the retake. Why lose 1 or 2 players when you can just retake with all 5, right? Envy took advantage of that.
Exactly. I was going to add on to that what Veli just said too, because if you want to play the retake style for Gen.G, they tried to do it, but when you have players like Envy that started waking up, like you said here, Buck, the sleeping giants, 2-6 up to 6-6 going into the attacker side, they took cover of the A site and the C site, and they played aggressive. They never played back after on the post plan. They took control of the sites and made it harder for Gen.G to play the retakes because they had less utilities by losing key players at the beginning.
Yeah, Gen.G, they even hesitated on the flank when they were coming around grass. I'm so sorry, Bach, man. I'm excited about that setup.
It's okay. You're allowed to be excited, baby. That's what we're here for. We're here to be excited.
And that's the scary thing about this matchup. Gen.G with the retakes, they're going against Envy, who's really good on rotations. They're playing Envy's game, and that's why that B take was just so easy. So, yeah, I agree with everything Van Silly and Potter just said.
Taking a look at the scoreboard, we can see how things shaped up throughout the series as well. Again, we mentioned it, that incredible run back from Envy. After going down 6-2, they win 11 straight rounds. It felt like Gen.G just didn't stand a chance. After just a few rounds won in a row, it became more and more obvious that Envy was going to do it. And look at the side-by-side comparison, the numbers, 12.5k damage compared to just 9.1 there for Gen.G. The headshot percentage is higher. The frag battle is going the way of Envy, and objective wins going the way of a tie. So that would be spike placement going or defuses as well. So that was a little bit more even, but it didn't really come down to that. It was all about just fragging out. And I think, you know, looking at the players we were speaking of coming into this series, we talked about Food and we talked about Sean.
Yeah.
Sean did not really do what we needed Sean to do, but you can see Food sitting at the top of the charts as the MVP. It was actually Imon on the other side, GMD, who comes out with still not that impressive of a stat line. Van Silly, a little bit of egg on your face here as you were hyping up Sean coming into this series. What happened?
I think it's, again, when NV were able to wake up, it made things very difficult, not only for Sean, but for even Win to try to get entries into the site to allow for Gen.G to get into these sites on the attacker side. They look very good at the beginning. Actually, Sean, on that second round anti-eco, was playing a lurk. He was in the Phoenix at the grass side. Everybody's attacking towards the A side, and he even flanks towards B, goes for the backstab with the frenzy for the kill. I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's not going to be Kusta flanking. There's a potential that it's going to be Sean. But we saw the evolution of when the gun rounds came in. He tried to do the entries there. I don't think there was much support from his teammates to try to get him into the site. I think that's also the reason why he's playing Phoenix, because he's trying to flash himself in and be that key entry fragger for Gen.G to get into, for example, B. But when you see the positioning where Crashies was, right? The amount of headshots, the percentage that we had in total for Envy that's greater than Gen.G, I'm pretty sure it's all Envy Crashies and Food on the defense and the attacker side, respectively.
Now, we did just watch Haven play out, but we're going to be moving into a different map. We talked about it coming into that first map, how important Haven was going to be to Gen.G if they planned to take the series. Now we're moving into much less friendly territory as we get ready to jump into our second map. It's going to be Icebox. Looking at Icebox being our second map in this series, are you a little bit concerned here, Potter, that Gen.G is just going to get decimated by a now warm, ready-to-fire Envy?
I'm a lot bit concerned, Bach. I can't lie to you here. I'm a lot bit concerned. I think Gen.G absolutely needed that first map win to kind of catapult them forward, give them that momentum. But you know what? I'm still going to remain faithful here. I think Sean, he's probably going to switch it up. No longer on that Phoenix, going on this Icebox. We'll probably see him on Raze. That's his bread and butter, man. That's where he's going to be able to play the playground map that is Icebox, especially with Raze, right? So definitely for him, hopefully once again it reinvigorates him. I think the rest of the squad on Gen.G, they're probably gonna have an identical composition moving over to this Icebox, but man, they gotta somehow or another put a lid on Crashies and put a lid on Food, because the 1-2 punch that these two were delivering was incredible. I mean, 3 for 2 in opening duels for Crashies. That means he's fighting every round pretty much as a Sova. So definitely for Gen.G, they've got to rely on Sean.
Yeah, I'm going to say straight up, Icebox is 0-2 for Gen.G when it comes to challenges too. But you take a look at Envy, man. Envy is going to be way too unpredictable. They have so many pseudo fakes, you're not even going to know what's happening. Crashies with his owl drone, he's going to be the lead of a lot of confusion on the end of Gen.G. So I'm going to be straight up. I still think this 2-0 is still going to happen, Bach.
Big shout out to the Plat Chat boys, because I remember playing a game with Sideshow and it was telling me you should have a look at Envy, because they're one of the few teams, if not the only team, that plays a Phoenix on this map. So I had to look at the matches. I was looking at what they were doing with Food. They have Food forming that B orb. They have Food planning into the site as well. And for an agent composition that does not use a Sage, people think of meta right now is to use a Sage on the map. Food is the one that's going to push up towards B and curveball towards the double boxes on the green side to make sure that nobody's playing behind there, that it can't be wall bang, and when the coast is clear, that's when they plan. This is going to be the demise of Gen.G. They also are a composition that don't use a Sage, where I think overall, Envy will take the advantage based on the playstyle and the agent composition.
Well, you mentioned Phoenix. Phoenix brings the fire and Envy brings the heat.
Yeah.
But is it possible that Icebox will cool them down a bit and Gen.G will be able to force things to a map number 3? We've got the casters standing by. Take it away.
It is time for map 2. I'm super excited. Icebox has been one of my favorites to watch, to see what the min-max innovation has become for each team as we go throughout the tournaments. Both teams have played this map in tournaments 8 times. So maybe the 9th time's the charm, or the 10th if they can get 2 in a row, but we'll see what if they have something new.
Yeah, I think Vansilli did a really good job in highlighting some of the key elements of this. I think the running the Phoenix, I completely agree. I think it's going to be absolutely key. I think it's going to be difficult with Gen.G because unlike Haven, I think this is a map where either they're still finding their feet and finding the way in which they want to master that attack. So I don't know that we'll see quite as well a versed approach on their offense, but we will see a lot of action around mid on the defaults, which I think it's been really interesting to see that developing in the meta. Actually, a team that I really like in terms of that watching recently has been 100 Thieves, with the way that, you know, Steel will run the Killjoy and he has little setups where there'll be a dark cover planted in mid and he'll drop an alarm bot in there. There's a lot of teams trying to solve this early mid-round presence that can really cause a lot of problems on this map. And I feel like Envy going to be ready for that when that comes out from Gen.G. So we'll see how that develops. And I think, so we've got Sean on the stage there. So, you know, there's obviously the talk of Sage is a very common pick on this map. Is that going to be the case? We know that Envy don't like to run that. We're likely not going to see the Viper either. But there we go. There's that Sage on Sean.
What do they decide? Yeah, it's all locked in, actually. I thought there's still a few hovers going in. They do the Sage, though. You're right. This is going to be quite interesting. So they'll have a little... I feel like it's almost... It makes B that much easier. Obviously, you could do quite a bit when you put a wall up at Pipe today, but having that for B kind of makes things feel a lot better. It's a difficult site to cover if you haven't done many post-run plants. You're either backed up by the boxes where you're entering, or you're kind of out in no man's land on yellow, and you're going to eat everyone's utility that starts coming around the corner. So I love seeing the Sage and how that's played. But and again, like I said, Dan, it's cool to see when teams aren't using the Sage, as Valley was pointing out before, and how that starts to be utilized now that things are changing.
Definitely. And again, we're going to see that dark cover mid quite often to try to create some element of control there. We have a movement from Envy, though, otherwise, just towards the Sage site. It's just a single Killjoy there for Gen.G holding on to B. So right now, Gen.G have actually a plan to try to fight for this A site. It really depends on what Envy are going to throw here on the initiation. So we'll see how they develop that. But they're also just holding their ground at the moment to see if they were able to catch any maneuvers, any information plays that may be coming forward. And the drone comes out. So they're going to get rid of the drone at least. That's going to spot things. And now there's a choice for Envy. Do they commit as the wall gets dropped, or do they reset out of this? They don't have any presence around the map. So that's going to encourage them to pressure this A site and perhaps just go all in from this point forward.
Take flight.
So slow playing it. Yeah, everybody's still here. It's just going to be a huge swamp onto A site. Looks like they're trying to get over. They've all gone onto the rope to make sure that happens. Flank's not currently being watched, but they're not in a problem there since Gen.G is not coming around. Spike planted 5v5 as this round has been a little weird to start as everybody was so close and nobody has gone down yet.
Yeah, it's always fun when you see this, but eventually something has to give, and we'll see the execution come back into the side here on this retake attempt. Gen.G using the cover as best they can, but they are going to have to get these kills. They are pressuring the Spike now, trying to get the time down, at least get it to halfway, as we've got Win just going for the fight here, up close and personal. Envy, just like that, knocking everybody down at once. Sometimes I don't know how you're supposed to cast this rev. Everyone, an entire team just dies instantly.
And that's basically what it's going to have to be, because if you look at Gen.G's composition, it's a lot, as what I call blind and find. That's what they have to get back into a site, right? You don't have mollies from the Killjoy plus the Phoenix plus the Rays plus the darts of Crashies and more blinds, right? So it becomes very difficult. It requires more people all the time, or you just have to be hitting your shots because you have to hold the site with that composition. Retakes become almost impossible.
Yeah, it's certainly very difficult to deal with, and we're going to see the anti-eco playing out here, and seems fairly straightforward for Envy. And I like that we got just some play around B long. You can drone that. The drone B long is often pretty important, and we may see that quite commonly just because it allows you to gain information as to whether the defenders are playing close to the B long position, because that's really important to know, because the rotations on this map are pretty huge. So just by spotting out some of those early positions, that's a big deal. And likewise, if there is nobody there and they're playing further back on the B site, then the defenders will actually hear that drone. So then they actually have to react to that. So there's just a lot of value out of that one piece of utility using the default. But we'll see what Envy go for here.
All right. Well, here's that push Van Silly was commenting on. If they try to get themselves up, it will be food first. And it is an interesting play. You usually see Phoenix will be utilized in comfort on maps. Okay, Sean coming up with 2 Vandals right there as he just throws the wall up, making it seem like it was safe to play. But having that internal site of A to run around as a Phoenix with so many corners and create pressure is so nice with the run it back. So can definitely see its return on investment here into the Icebox map.
Huge play, as you said, from Sean there too. That he's playing that off angle. That's a spot you're not going to see played very often. I don't imagine we'll see it maybe more than one more time possibly on this side, because it's very easy to deal with that if you are expecting it. You can just jiggle it and not get caught by that. But again, the element of surprise is pretty huge. And now Envy are in a 3 versus 4. There's 40 seconds to go. They've got this positioning on the A side of the map. The plant will go down. It's more of an open plant here for them to work with, and that will allow them to fall off of the spike itself. This is going to be tough. You can see Gen.G using the numbers here, trying to coordinate everything. They know they don't have to rush this. It's down to Mummy getting a couple on the entry, and there is a beautiful paranoia. That's going to deal with him. Great damage coming through from Finesse, but is that going to be enough? Huge flank from Crashies. Trying to stop. He actually stopped running just in time. He might be able to do something here. I don't think he's going to get to the spike in time for him. It's going to be pretty difficult here. This is not the angles. And that's going to be the round there for the Gen.G side. Very nicely done.
What these rounds are touch and go, and then a good grab on it will help Gen.G get back in on this one. But this start here from Sean was so necessary, and the retake together again. Power in numbers for Gen.G. You will not see them trying to retake stuff alone, and right there, 3's a crowd as they work their way in.
And one quick note for the viewers at home as well: that position that Sean was in, it is that you do get the distance advantage. You see the opponent's models first, but again, it's very easy to deal with if you just expect it, because jiggling that is that you're not going to be exposed to anything else when you're jiggling that. So they can deal with that now they know about it. So you can see Sean is changing his position, and he's going to pick off one. If he goes for another one, this is that's brave from Sean. Didn't have to go for that, but he gets it anyway. Just, you love to see the confidence.
And the repeat there, so quick too. I love that you mentioned it. Just super confident, and that's what you need here against Envy, because they're going to be coming in just as confident. The left click isn't going to be enough, but Crashies is pretty hurt right now, as it's only going to be a few shots to take him down. Mikhail coming up big with a few. A nice job there, and he's ready for Crashies to be close with good comms from the team. A third one possibly. FNS gets the better of him. And lockdown available versus 3. It's going to be a tough one to use that. And are you serious? The quick flick shot to the chest of Sean is going to make it a little easier in the 2v1.
This is really scary too, because Finesse, he's a super smart player. He has enough time to rotate off. So there is a question for Gen.G. Do they try to just gamble and stay together on A? It's a pretty big rotation time. Do they try to play in the middle and retake together? So lots of different ways you can approach this, but they decided to just play it safe, expecting that maybe Finesse was more likely to just wait and just force them to move and then go back into the A site. He's gone for this B play though. He has the lockdown, as you guys can see. He's going to pop that immediately, and one of the great things about that is it is going to buy him time for a full rotation on the flank, and that's kind of the purpose of doing this. And we'll see if it works out for him, Riv. It's bold.
Creeping on in. So remember, the spikes to his left. He's relying on a bit of the utility, and GMD with the 6th sense comes up big. A great play. You always love to see a little around the world from the solo planter on attack and trying to make that big flank happen by themselves. But defenders pick up another round. That's Gen.G evening it up here on the pick of Envy for Icebox.
And there's a couple points there as well. I just want to say something extra about Finesse's play there.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can wallbang this, spam this box, and where he planted it, he's created a spot where he's very far away, so you can't close the distance on him. So if he creates a 1v1, he's won the round, basically, at that point. Yeah. It would be he has so many advantages. So he set that up really intelligently. And onto another point, are they going to try to deal with Sean here? He's just getting these 1v1s, and it looks like that may not come into the equation here. Riv is a fast push onto the A site.
Crashies feeling good there. They quickly try to get the orb down and get out. And you're right, though. The kitchen play for Sean has just been easy 1-2-3s. They keep walking into him, and it's not even that he's in kitchen this time. He's in hell of A, and he's taken down one after another. Oh, Kusta from the top side, and it looks like catwalk and lower is going to be a big problem for them. Kusta's shooting true right now, and Gen.G just stops Envy in their tracks on this one. Crashing 3v1 situation, 2v1. Crashing, popping him. Here's another shot, and he knows where one is. He just has to find the other, knowing they may be working together. That's the find. He knows both are just on the backside of A, but he's got to do the small peeks here. holding an angle, waiting, sees one. This is tight, Dan.
Oh, it's very tight, but Crashy, he's making it look possible. Man, he was sitting on those 2 bullets for so long. It's just, oh man. Crashy, he's one of those players, you watch him and you think it's possible. It doesn't really matter what the situation is, it's always exciting. But Gen.G, what a great defense on that A site. You know, they did a great job in slowing down the push. They didn't have to play retake because they were able to slow things down enough with the utility. They could play just at the back of the site. And then when Sean gets there and the Icebox start hitting the ground, they're never going to lose back sight unless Envy just win the fight straight up. Yeah. So now Envy are in a position where they're going to have to change the game up a little bit. They are on a save buy, and they've got that one Guardian. That's some firepower. And it looks like they're going for that B play.
Saw that. I saw him sneak that in there. We'll see what they can do here. That is, he is going to bring that in with the run it back. So maybe he just goes firing through. In the slow play for now. They can hear him over in B, so a slight bit of rotation is going to start happening as they're close up here. And you can see all of Gen.G peeling back now to get towards that A site, but they're at yellow. Sean with the transfer. Beautifully done. Almost takes down Food as well as he gets 2 from GMD. And Gen.G is just striking true right now as Win takes to the air, takes down Caboose, but he's not the last one this time. That's FNS trying to hold the right side, gain intel and info as the team was going ham on B. And he's now got to deal with Blade Storm as well as 2 other intel grabbers here to get into the site and defeat this 3v1 with a frenzy.
And there we go, gets caught out. It's definitely, Finesse is definitely a dangerous player, you know, much like a lot of teams that run sort of a Killjoy lurk. There's a lot that you can really do with that. Again, you know, I have to give shout outs to 100 Thieves. You know, Steel's one of my favorite people to watch in terms of how you play that role on the Killjoy on offense and how you lurk with it and how you use the utility and how you play off of your team so that you give opportunities to your team with your lurk. You know, if they run into problems, you know, you're able to get a lot of information. They create pressure, which allows you to have free position. It's a great relationship, and you can see that Finesse is, you know, by himself towards A at the moment, and there's early presence here from Envy towards B long. They might just want to take this position, but that's going to be rather difficult. Win is there, the trade comes through though from Mummy. Good stuff from Envy so far. Pressuring GMD, he's got to try to pull away, just barely vanishes in time, all the way to spawn. He's going to stay alive, but are they going to be able to find a way back into a retake? Because it looks like Envy are going to have this site.
Yeah, again, not too much to be able to retake. Maybe the openness of B helps that Gen.G squad with the Sentinel or the Initiator utility from Sova. The fact that you can get a few smokes out to make your own angles, but other than that, they don't have nades to throw around and stuff. So if it does go to A, it may be a little bit better favored here if they can play some off angles, but it's the scatter. Envy's done a great job of just pulling Gen.G off original angles, and it was imperative that we see that dart hitting somebody and finding a little bit of info this deep into the round, because I feel like Gen.G was up the river without a paddle, not knowing where Envy is. Plant in A, Dan. Let's see what they got.
Yeah, just again, that Killjoy lurk creates the opportunity for a huge rotation and to play off of this A site. Oh, a Killjoy lockdown coming through from Kusta. It's going to force the ultimate, the Hunter's Fury, which would have been nice to have post-plant, but that's going to be taken out of the equation. So there's 2 ults on Nullify. Does Gen.G look for this retake? But here is the lurk from Caboose right in the back. The rocket comes out just in cover in time to get the rocket off. Didn't look like he had the time for that, but Caboose finds it. Now down to the 1 versus 1. And GMD has a lot on his hands. The jump peek from Finesse to bait the shots. And there's going to be enough time for the defuse from GMD. Very well played there from Gen.G. Oh, wow. That was a close one.
That was super close. Also, Caboose playing with pixels there. I feel like that would have went off in his face, but he just squeaks it out. Awesome stuff to see this round. And yeah, Mummy coming up big there in the end to bring the team through. Whoop. Thank you very much. That's great.
Oh, wow. So close.
Sorry, GMD, not Mummy. I apologize. And then he gets another one on FNS, and they make it home 5-2 here as we come into the 8th round. Remember the first map to Envy, and what did it, you came to the conclusion that they won like 13 in a row, Dan, as we saw at the end there?
11 or something like that.
11 or something in a row, so it can happen again.
It certainly can. And Envy looking to go for that B-long presence once again, get control here. We saw that worked out for them last time. Looking a little bit more committed. however, and so are Gen.G. You see GMD is just standing in the middle of the site. He's got support from Win as well with that operator. So not too much to be done there for MV. They have to reset out, and you can see Mikhail is waiting for that. However, I don't know that they're wise to this lurk from Mummy up the tube into Kitchen, but doesn't matter. Gen.G are able to deal with every single situation, and they will close down the advantage 6-2. But again, you know, this is kind of what we saw, just as you mentioned, Riv, things turning around a little bit for Envy in the last map. So perhaps the story will repeat. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, so what are we on now? That's 6 for Gen.G. I mean, it's 3 until you're on full buy. So if we see Envy go down here, they have 1,900 going into the bank for a loss bonus. Add that to what they have, right? You're not sitting on a lot. So these rounds here could start to just fold on each other in favor of Gen.G. If this one again goes down for Envy as a loss, we'll see here. Round 9 is what we're hitting, and B seems to be the flavor here for Envy right now.
Yep, and it's a great choice, and I like this response coming in from Gen.G, just trying to push down the tube into mid, getting a little bit aggressive. This early timing, Envy play heavy, as you said, to be long. That means they're giving up other parts of the map, and Gen.G are trying to exploit that. Just relying on Kusta here to be able to get a kill, just delay, hold on, buy time for his teammates to get a flank, to set up position, and that's exactly what Kusta has to do. Takes down the running back as well as the kill. He's done his job. Now can his team follow up with the rest?
A great initial start there to just slow things down. Mikhail easily getting that, figuring out who else he has to fight. Gets one ping, but the boost stands tall in the middle of the site to take that one down. Still good spam. Sean, these guys are just on point right now with spraying it down, knowing they are hitting their opponents. And that one's a pretty easy one, but over and over again, you see these guys consistently hit it. It's still impressive. 40 seconds left on this round. FNS loves to play the clock, and that's exactly what he's going to have to do here. One digital molly up, as I call him, and he's waiting 20 seconds on that turret for a little bit of HP here, or for a little bit of help, I should say.
Looks like that wasn't audible to Sean there. He's on the site. He didn't turn it all on that sound cue, so looks like
does he shoot him right away is the question.
Oh, no. Oh, the timing. The timing doesn't work out. So sad for Finesse, but not sad for Gen.G. And I just want to be, just, you know, there is something we have to, there's an elephant in the room here with Gen.G, in that they can get these leads against great teams. We've seen them do it against like all of the greatest teams.
Yes.
But the question is, can they close the leads? Because oftentimes they do fight, they are unable to close. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be something against that.
I mean, you pull up the past. Lower semifinals, Gen.G versus 100 Thieves. 10-2 first half. That went 30+ rounds, right? Things you have to close out, times you have to keep control, and it looks like they may be doing that right here. 7-2, and they open up this round huge. It's going to be the Spectre, the low econ, so Envy's going in hard, and Gen.G, they'll take it. They'll farm this one up and be very, very happy with it. We should see Envy coming up with maybe a short buy or the full save here, or might just be light armor. We'll have to find out, though. But off the bat, Gen.G, we talked about it last map, Dan. Push up a little bit, grab the info. This time, they're getting even more with it.
Yeah, I think Envy are being somewhat readable here, especially not having the Sage Wall to protect the plants on B from getting wall banged from around the the tube area. It does make things a little bit easier to predict, especially as we see that Gen.G have been dealing with the B long presence really well. So we're going to see Envy mixing that up to try to scrape together these last couple rounds. Sean has crept into a really forward position. Oh, Mame's just going to spot that in time. That's a huge pickup. And Envy, they can do a lot from this. Finesse lurking in mid still as his team pressures the A site. And Finesse can play a really late lurk if he wants to here. It's going to be the case, though, that he has been spotted now, I believe. So his lurk is not going to come into play as much as, in fact, GMT is going to just take him down. So a good chance here for Gen.G on the retake with that flank presence.
What an impressive change in mentality from map 1 to 2. You can see the confidence exuding from Gen.G here, pushing up more, being the first to take the 1v1s and not waiting. They're making me eat crow for saying this team's going to have a hard time retaking with just a blind and find utility. All the shots are counting. It's not really mattering what they're bringing to the table otherwise. Seeing a aim in. Oh, just the side peeks as they're both tiptoeing around on the bottom side. GMD and the rest of the team diving in as Win comes up with the Blade Storm as Kusta is the one to finalize it on to Mummy. And just like that, Envy is wiped from the site. And 9 rounds are over to Gen.G.
Yeah, very tough retake to stop there from Gen.G. There was no counter to the Killjoy lockdown that got planted. So at that point, you're just really feeling, if you're Envy, you're really feeling that sense of we're so far behind. We don't have any ults to counter this. We just don't have the the economy. We don't have the options. So that's just a huge advantage for Gen.G to capitalize on. And 9-2 this is what you wanted to see if you're a Gen.G fan. If you're a fan of having close series and getting more Valorant, which I think that kind of applies to everybody. This is definitely what you want to see. Bind is the last map if we do find ourselves there, so that would be a lot of fun. But until we get there, we'll have to see if Envy do find some form of recovery here as they really switch up the focus back to A.
And it's been since that first gun round. Their Gen.G's just like, yeah, give us the Vandals, give us the Phantoms, and we'll win every round out on this first half. I mean, they're pointing for the fences. Can they get it here with this last one? Just about a minute left in the round. Lots of time. And everybody's setting up in a different position here if they were seen before or out of those default shock spots. You see a good movement there as they push up into safety. Everybody, it's the play to not lose round, and GMD finds the first one, takes a bit of damage himself as the team is nicely set up here on the A site. And they don't have too much of rotation yet. I like the fact that they still have Jet over in B to cover anything.
Sean is wrapping around 410.
Oh my.
Insane play from him. Able to get so much value and damage, removing all forward position from Envy. They are struggling now to get their way back in. Food, though, doing what he can to give them something to work off of, and they're going to push forward off of the back of that, looking to get this control of the A site. But Gen.G, they don't want to give this up, and there's not too much for them to have to worry about. They can play off each other. You see some great positioning here from Gen.G, that if Envy are to try to force the issue here, I mean, Food, we can see that he's walking into us. What on earth was that from Food? Able to find those 2 kills. As I was about to say, that setup looked like it was perfect to deal with him. And now just barely enough time to get the spike down. Is he able to hold on to this one? He's trying to hold it. There comes the dash for a win, and it's denied. 10-2 as Gen.G against the clock, but it seems like they can do no wrong in this half rip.
Dan, it just seems like a bunch of master plans being foiled each round. You're like, no way Food did that. Now they have it. He jumps off, cliffhanger leaps, grabs the spike, gets the sight, 4 seconds left to plant, and it's like Gen.G had it planned all along. The dive right in, take out the last 2. Movie ends, credits roll. Now, not yet, but what a half here coming in from Gen.G. Can they continue it is the question here. Will this be able to happen on the attacking side now, as Envy has a chance to put up that defense?
Yeah, well, as it has been said so many times in tactical FPS commentary, it all starts with a pistol, and obviously there's so few rounds to work with. Envy can't afford to put a foot wrong. There's a lot to talk about if we do see Envy get this pistol and stabilize, and it's a lot to say about the way that Gen.G are going to play their attacking side. But until we get there, it's going to be this, what looks like a heavy commit towards this A site. There are some options that are being left open by Gen.G. They have GMD on the back there. It does seem like they're maybe actually rotating the spike out. You can see that Sean is also there with him, looking for any flanking players from Envy, but they're not going to see it off of their initial pressure, so it looks like they'll regroup.
One of my favorite turrets to throw up there. That or the other side wall for defensive Killjoy, where the Owl drone was looking just now. Good coverage to start the site. A bit of utility used quite early there. Doesn't seem like too much return on investment, and Win, wait a minute, still alive. He put himself in the front of 3 people. Does not deserve that, but he goes up with a kill. Beautifully played, and now the rest of Gen.G is unloading as they try to get into the site. Kusta coming up with 3 there. The ghost strikes true, and wow, what a dance that Win did there. Dead to rights comes up with 1 for himself, and Gen.G is being the one causing all the chaos this game. And very much an Envy style of play that they're bringing right to him.
Hell yeah. It's hard not to be happy about Gen.G finding some success. Definitely a team that's the underdog in this series, and they have, just as you said, Riv, previously, there's been a lot of big leads against teams that they have sort of given up, and that seems to be something that plagues them. So if we're able to see them get over that hump in this series, what it says in the greater scheme of things is that they're going to be ready to, they're going to be poised to win against Envy, and they're going to that third map. And we'll see if they can get there. They're going to be in a great position here. Once again, they are slowing things down. They start off that initial A pressure, looking to see if there's any reaction, any pushes coming from B long, any pushes coming from mid, and they're actually rotating out as well. Last round, they did this, and they went back to A, but this time they're actually going to commit towards B. But I think all that stepping is going to be heard by Envy, by Finesse.
I like the choice though, right? Because it's an eco round, and you have to figure what Envy is going to try to do on that. I don't think they know they have a ton of Buckies on hard angles over at A, but they've seemed to have made the right decision, as it could be the B hit right now.
Makes a lot of sense too. They do have that Sage wall, which is pretty useful in these post plants to protect that spike going down. And just like Kusa's going to find food on the flank, so all good so far. As Gen.G, in fact, they may not have to play a post plant. There isn't going to be a post plant really, as Envy decided to commit everything in to try to stop the spike from going down. That was their moment. Doesn't work out, and now the Envy. This will be a hell of a comeback, Riv, if they were able to pull this one off.
You know what? Don't put it past them. You'd love to see that hope in there, but it seems unlikely right now. Gen.G is demanding a lot of respect coming in here as the 8th seed to put up such a strong showing on the second map on Envy's pick, right? It kind of seems like, hey, thanks for picking the map is the way this series has gone so far, with Envy winning Gen.G's pick and now the other way around. See how they start this one off. Lots of time left as it just started, and Envy has to get that play to win mentality onto the front line here. Can't play not to lose. That just means Gen.G is going to be able to walk all over you, and this is perfect. The push-up is exactly what they needed. Early info grab, pressure created, and you make Gen.G play a little sweaty.
Yeah, this is great. You know, they know that so far Gen.G has been playing that early pressure around A. They're just like, you know what, we're not going to let you just run a default. We're going to just take the fight right there and then. They pick it up, as you say, and now they're ready to get, well, they're giving up the B site for the retake. They have the 5 versus 4. Still utility. Oh, very well timed paint shells, but it was a fake on the spike plant there. Don't want to get caught by that util, and in fact, it's going to be Mikael with the shock dart to take down Finesse. So with that said, it's a 4 versus 4, but the spike has to go down. That means that Gen.G, they have to move forward. They have to start the action. It's not up to Envy, and what the Bucky is too good.
Feeling lucky there. They get the spams through, though. Not too many places you can hide in that situation. Looks like Alton comes up there for a moment before he goes down. Crashies with a beautiful shot. Shocked out. Oh, that could be a kill just outside, and Crashies. It's not going to matter. He finds the shot on Hwin. They keep the second map dreams alive, but it's still almost a nightmare. It's going to be a tough one to come back out of this. Things being dropped all over the place. They are trying to get all of the resources they can in the right spots, and we'll see this one more time.
Woo. Crashies with the red ball clutch, dude. This dude is stimulated. Look at that, just that fadeaway sheriff shot. Right, that is so insane that Envy have to win the round in that fashion. They played it so well at the start. They got the advantages. They did everything right, but they still needed a 1v2 sheriff clutch with that kind of a shot from Crashies to win it. That does not bode well for Envy. We'll have to see whether they're going to be able to stabilize here and make things look a little bit better. But again, it's this A pressure at the beginning. And you don't know if it's a default from Gen.G at this point, if they just got 3 players here, they're just pressuring, or if it's the entire team. And maybe now they can figure it out, but it could also be a fake rip. There's so many things that could be happening here.
Yeah, spikes drop. Good eye on that, and you really just wonder how much utility you can get out this round if you're Gen.G. You lost a few members. The lockdown is there, and now that the spike has been picked up, unfortunate for it to go down in such a spot where the lockdown could not be used. Gen.G a little foiled on this round, and to see if they still do it. The nest is held by Hwin, and how far can he go in this spot? They know, because Cloudbursts aren't coming from a jet on the side of Envy. So that is a very close danger that Envy has to deal with. Just on the rope, it's going to be enough to crash his hands back. Quick shot towards the bombs. Like, what a transfer! The team comes in at the same time to play every angle possible. The damage is dealt, and Envy is still alive.
Oh my god. That's so insane, Caboose, man. He's just like painting a picture, a beautiful picture there with that, where he's moving his mouse.
Word.
weird.
That's just crazy. Just the level of stress I had just watching Win sitting in these smokes with a judge. I'm just like almost tearing my hair out for Envy. I just like, that's just going to be so shocking. But they managed to trade that one out really quick. So
Yep.
They're walking on a razor's edge, Envy, but they're doing it and they're making it look just really stable at this point. And they've got to keep it going. And this is the danger point for Gen.G. This is where we have seen, and we've been discussing it, Gen.G needs to show us that they can close these huge leads against big teams and not let them back in. And now they've been rocked. They've been thrown onto an eco, and Envy can start building their economy. Obviously, they can't lose a single round, so that doesn't matter a huge amount as long as they can get full buys. But it matters insofar as if they're getting clean rounds in terms of like the emotional, psychological advantage, they're going to start feeling more confident and they're going to start
Honestly,
playing a bit more aggressive.
I wish we kind of had like a percentage meter factor, like if it was a poker hand, because if you look at what Envy has coming in on this one, they have a few ults up right now in the Phoenix and the Omen. They have the Raze and the Sova ult almost coming up. So the way they can be capitalized on round to round is how Envy could stay in this game. And it looks like they're not even gonna have to use a few of those to get back in. Good shots from Food and the rest of the team as Sean answers back here. And it looks like one more round will be possible. How many after that is the question. GMD trying to make it work with the Sheriff here in sight by himself. It's 3v2 right now, and they got the work cut out for him. His Food has quite the round and the 3K.
Yeah, that was pretty chaotic. That looked a little bit scary for a moment there for Envy, but stabilizing nicely indeed. And the rifles come back out again. And so it's worth noting at this point that the defaults from Gen.G have been this A pressure, and I'm wondering if what they're doing that so they can kind of condition more of a response towards A, so they can get some free walks up mid, because that might be something that they would like to go to. So that's something to watch out for, like an early round timing where they just walk up mid. But it may not be the case just yet. They have a lot of rounds to play with. They can continue to set expectation as to what they're doing with this A presence, and that seems to be a similar story in terms of pace and where they're placing their players.
Little play to get the intel and flank out. Getting the flank for getting a Killjoy's turret always feels bad for her, so it's nice when you can find it right away and take it out. You always have to look a few more times. Alarm bot's there, so that prevents them from having to do that this time around. But we do see 5 ultimates almost ready for the side of Envy. They've stacked up the possibility here to string a few rounds together and add that utility of the ultimate if they really need to get that round in their favor. Mikhail moving up now from B. If the plant goes down, they could do as much as lockdown here, and that's what the position of Envy is taking up right in the middle of B. Site's going to be taken. It's going to be slow. Gen.G wants this one, and they're going to play it patiently.
This is really difficult, too, because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of ultimates at play here, and Gen.G... Yeah, indeed. The lockdown comes through. Like, what is Gen.G's response here? They don't have too much in the way of ultimates here. They're going to burn them. The Hunter's Fury comes through from Mikhail. He's going to destroy the lockdown. Gen.G really want to try to win the round right here. Oh, no. Mikhail was actually going to take down Sean, I think, with the last bolt of the Hunter's Fury. And 3 versus 3 here. Envy, very doable retake. They have a Hunter's Fury of their own as well. There comes the tap to put the pressure on Gen.G. Straight in from the back, though, taking down 2, leaving it all on Mummy. A lot of work to do, a lot on his shoulders right now to save the map, but he can't do it. And Gen.G able to close a huge lead on Icebox against Envy. Beautiful, beautiful Valorant there from Gen.G, and that's exactly what we all wanted to see, I think.
Absolutely. Also seeing Gen.G play that composition without hard sight retake. You're blinding people. You're creating your own angles. Can't be underestimated, right? It can't be understated. It's so amazing. That's why some people are trying like, hey, let's get Viper in here. But it's so hard to use those walls. But having the smokes they did, having the vision they did, they played it power and numbers. We always saw Gen.G retaking with 2 or 3, and that was their win for the map. They played as a team, and it was every round. What we see 9, 10 in a row on the first half, maybe faltered a few on the second, but that's going to happen when you're exchanging pistols first round in Econ. What a game from Gen.G.
Yeah, and I definitely wasn't thinking nearly as much of their gameplay on Icebox as I would for Haven. And I felt like Haven, they showed so much that I was like, oh, I'm going to be struggling to see them replicating some of that on the attack. But such a great defense, got off to such a great start. And now I think we're in territory that no one expected us to reach, which is map 3. I don't think anyone. I think everyone was just calling it as an easy 2-0. But hey, that's great for the storylines. I can't wait to see what happens.
And what is that last map? Oh, we got Bind.
Binds,
That's right. Yeah. Interesting. So it kind of tests you on both maps. The map without a mid. I know a lot of these teams both teams we just saw like to be able to flex a third option, have somebody lurking. This one gives you teleport, so maybe it's a little bit harder to do that. And we will see a lot more utility being considered on these site takes. And orb, I feel like there's a lot of orb focus for Bind too, since you can play quickly, just shower and get them off at B. It's going to be even more exciting than the last two. And you're right. I don't think many people thought we would get to a third map between the first and the 8th seed.
Yep, and it's every map feels just scary for Gen.G. As the underdogs, of course, you'd imagine that. But envy the amount of times I've done analysis on their video on their odds of this map, and just historically that they're just so solid on both sides. So many top teams have troubles dealing with it, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing what Gen.G can do off of such a dominant, coming off the back of such a dominant Icebox.
Looking at Bind there, 51 plays coming in for Envy, 47 for Gen.G. So pretty similar in that sense. I mean, it's the original, right? It's like the map you sign, you're like, oh, cool, we're on Bind again. It feels good whenever you're playing it. But looking at those stats, it has been a very big increase for Envy, just about 16% on the defensive win rate from Challengers 1 to Challengers 2. They've done that on a few maps, and that's seeing their aggression come into play. Gen.G seem to be able to snuff it out, and we'll find out in map 3 who can take that first victory. We're going to be taking a quick break, but don't go anywhere. There's more VALORANT Masters coming up right after the break.
Apply now at redbullcampusclutch.com.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.